What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and that was a waste of a trip to Nashville. Love that. Love going to Tennessee, of all places, about a 4.5 hour drive for me. And yeah, going to visit, watching the U.S. play Panama with my family, and watching such a crap game. Really crap. And I mean, there were some bright points here and there, but overall, I mean, it was just a really, really bad game from both sides. I mean, a lot of misplaced passes, a lot of bad defending. I'm really, really surprised it was only 1-1 because that's how bad everything was. So, let's talk about it. First of all, let's talk about the lineup because there were points, there are parts of it that I'm just like, okay, I'm expecting to see this. Guzan in goal. I expect that. Villafania at left back. Omar, Gonzalez, and Bessler in the middle. I expect that. Even McCarthy and Acosta in the midfield. I kind of expect that because Acosta's been a player who's been kind of on the fringe recently, trying to work his way into the team. I do expect him to start. McCarthy, I've heard a lot of people talk about, so I expected him to start. And then up top, you've got Rowe on the left, you've got Corona in the middle, and then Bedoya on the right with Dwyer up top. Now, I kind of expected Ariola not to be in the team because against Ghana last week, he wasn't that great. He didn't really have a good game, so I was not surprised to see him not make the team. So you look at the three that are in behind the striker. Rowe played pretty well against Ghana, so I'm not surprised to see him start again. Corona did okay against Ghana. Didn't really see a whole lot of special ability from him, but he looked okay. So I wasn't surprised to see him. And then Bedoya is a player who really hasn't been a part of the team recently, and so this was a chance for him to show what he's able to do. And then Dwyer's a striker that's been talked about for a while now. Scored against Ghana, so no surprise there. The one problem I have, though, and you can probably tell because he's the one player I haven't talked about yet, Zusi at right back. Now, I know that he's been playing right back at his club recently, but here's the problem. Yedlin is our right back right now. That's kind of a given. He's playing for now a Premier League club in Newcastle. He's young, he's fast, he's got a lot of energy, and even though he's not the best defender, he still makes up for a lot of his defensive mistakes with how much speed he has to get back and cover for that. So he's our starting right back. There's no denying that. So what this tournament should do is give a chance for somebody else to step in as kind of like either an option to challenge him for the position or somebody who's going to step in if he's injured or suspended or whatever. If he's not available, we need somebody who's going to step in. Here are 3 problems with Zusi. 1, he's too old. We should be looking for somebody who's younger, who can be around for a few years from now, not somebody who's probably going to be done after this tournament. What is he, 32, maybe 33? So he's too old. He's already on his way out of the team. There's no reason for him to try to find your spot now at 30-something. That's too old. Second of all, he's not a true right back. He's a winger that's being turned into a right back very late on in his career, which means he's not ready for that position. And 3, he does not have the physical ability to be a fullback. Especially the way we set up our team, our fullbacks are supposed to get up and down the line. They're supposed to help out in the attack, but also be very defensive. He doesn't have the ability to do it. He's not able to get up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And it showed. I mean, I don't really want to get into individual performances yet, but it showed that he's not physically able to do it. And I don't know what else we have on the bench. I know we have a few other defenders, but I don't know which of them are supposed to be fullbacks, which of them can play fullback, if needed. But that was, in my opinion, that was one that when I saw him in the lineup, I thought to myself, why? Against Ghana, he didn't really do anything special, so why is he still starting? Why are we trying to give him a chance now, so late in his career? What is the point of this? And it showed. I was very, very correct in my frustrations of him being in the first team. So, let's talk about I guess first of all, let's talk about the 2 goals that did happen. Our goal, while a pretty good finish, it was still fairly lucky in how it came about. And most of our chances came about through a bit of luck. They were very defensive in how they set up Panama. They put a lot of players back in the box. They had a lot of defenders staying back. Even the midfield was dropped back at very defensive. So it was very clear that they looked to just get a draw here, because drawing against us, they'll probably win the other two games in the group stage, which pretty much we should too. So it's almost like they were not very intent on going for a win here. And it was obvious in the 28th minute whenever the keeper took like 20 seconds to get to the ball and put it down for a goal kick. It's like, seriously, you're going to waste time in the first half and 28 minutes in? I mean, are you that desperate for a draw? So it was very clear from the very beginning that they were not 100% intent on getting a win, but on the flip side of it, they were also very set up for the counterattack, which was very effective for them. So it was almost like they were not, I guess they weren't really focused on trying to get up the field and trying to press high and trying to win the ball back high up the field. But at the same time, they weren't necessarily saying, okay, we're not going to do any attacking at all. It was very quick whenever they turned on the counterattack. So that's how they set up. We were set up very, I don't know. I truly do not know. Like, it was bad. It was really bad how we were set up. It was so disorganized. It was so just all over the place. I didn't know what the plan was, to be honest. And that's not good. Whenever you're watching your team, you should look at them and say, okay, so we're trying to be a bit more defensive, or we're trying to play for the counterattack, or we're trying to play more possession-based. Whatever it is, you should be able to look out there and say, okay, so here's the plan. This is what the coach set us up to do. There was none of that. There was nothing about last night where I was just like, I know what we're doing now. I had no clue. I couldn't tell if we were trying to be more possession-based, if we were trying to maybe be a bit more just attack-minded, getting down the field. If, whenever they had the ball, it felt like we were just dropped really deep. So, I don't know, it's just so disorganized. And I think a lot of that comes from Bruce Arena. I don't think he knows what he wants to do with this team yet. And he won't say that because he's very arrogant, but, that's what it looked like to me. It looked like he didn't know what the plan was. And when your coach doesn't know, your players aren't going to know either. So that's just, the teams on the whole. The first goal comes from, good little bit of play by Rowe, and he was one of the players that didn't do terrible last night. Had a few moments here and there, but also had a few bad moments here and there as well. So, nice little play from him, flicks it up over the defender, brings it down, hits a cross in. It looks like kind of a desperate cross at first, but then the defender doesn't move his feet to get to it, so it rolls right past him. Dwyer's there. He it looked like maybe he kind of purposely mishit it. I don't know if that's possible, but he was going for the back post. It's a little bit of a mishit, which causes the defender to kind of like reach for it, and it just goes straight through his legs, hits the back post, and goes in. So it was well worked for the most part, and it was, even though there was a little bit of luck in it, it was still a pretty good goal. Their goal, however, was embarrassing to watch from our point of view. Because, first of all, defender gets a shot away because Zusi being Zusi last night. And so defender gets a shot away. Guzan does well with the save. It is kind of right at him, so you expect him to make the save. But it deflects off of him, goes back into the box. Everybody in the box standing. Gonzalez, Bessler, Zusi, Acosta, McCarthy, standing. Villafana, I think, was still outside the box. And it was just embarrassing. The guy has so much time. I looked at Gonzalez's body language, and I'm just going to show it to you so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. He's literally standing there like this. No lie. No sort of athletic motion like, I'm going to get to this. No, he was standing and walking like this. I wish I was lying, but I'm not. It was... Adjust. It was bad. It was so bad. He's standing, he opens his legs up right through. Guzan tries to get a hand to it, but deflects up under it and dribbles into the goal. How? Okay, you're a professional footballer. You're a defender on a professional football team. You do not stand and walk around on defense. You don't do that. That is not. There's nothing. Even at a younger level, even at a high school level, if you're walking around, you get pulled off the field. You get sat on the bench because you're walking. I coach a high school team. I can tell you, if I see any of my defenders out there walking around, they're coming off the field because that shows you don't want to put in the effort. That's at high school level. This is not even just, oh, you're playing professional football. That's not even that. You're playing at the national level for your country, and you're telling me you're going to walk around. Even my dog is just in shock right now. Like, she can't even move because of how ridiculous that is. And it's embarrassing is what it is. And honestly, after that, I mean, Gonzalez for the first half did pretty well, but that moment right there, especially for him, he's not the only one that didn't move. Obviously, like I said, Zusi didn't do well in the first shot in, and he didn't move afterwards, and Bessler was kind of standing around as well, and Acosta was kind of standing and watching, and McCarthy wasn't really stepping in as well. Everybody was standing, but to watch Gonzalez's body language as the ball was right there in front of him, I'm just like, how can you do that? Playing for your country, how can you do that? How can you not want to put your body on the line? How can you not want to go win the ball, to stop them from scoring a goal? How can you not want that? And especially because, and just going to go ahead and switch over really fast, talking about the Confederation Cup, Germany won it with their B team. And a lot of people were so shocked by that. They're like, holy cow, they didn't bring any of their first teamers. Neuer wasn't in goal. They didn't have any of their first team defenders. No Boateng. No, who's the other one? Hummels. No, nobody. They brought an entire B team. And the thing is, that B team still went on to win it even against Chile's at A team and Mexico's A team. And I don't think they played Portugal. They won it all. Why? Because these players, it didn't matter if they were the B team. It didn't matter if they were the secondary team. They put in the effort. It was not nearly as talented as Germany's A team. You could tell it was not nearly as good. The play, the movement on the ball was not nearly as good as Germany's A team. It was still pretty clever. It was still better than our team, no doubt. But despite the fact that it wasn't as good, despite the fact that all around it wasn't as good, they put in the effort and they won the tournament because of that effort. They wanted it more than everybody out there because they had something to prove. They wanted to prove that they deserved a chance on the World Cup squad next year. They wanted to prove that they deserved to be a part of the team next year. All of the players that we brought to this tournament should have that same mindset. With the exception of probably Guzan and maybe Villafana, just because Villafana is kind of like the only option we have at left back right now, which I still don't think that's right. I still think there's got to be somebody out there who can do better than he can, but different story. But honestly, I mean, Guzan, he's always been second choice to Howard, so if Howard's not able to play, Guzan's going to play. He's probably the only one that should feel safe in his role as the successor for Howard. And yet, despite that, everybody else on the field last night was either average or well below average. Guzan was the only one above average. And he's the only one who probably doesn't have to fight for his spot, because we know he can do it. We've seen him in the past do it. That's sad. It's really sad whenever these players, especially, I mean, Gonzalez and Bessler and Villafana, even Acosta and McCarthy, they're players that have either been on the fringe or, like McCarthy, haven't really gotten a chance at all. So they've been there. They've been a part of the team. Gonzalez has even featured a few times recently. And yet, you're not trying. You're never going to make it in the first team if you're not going to try. You're never going to overtake Cameron and Brooks. You're never going to overtake players like that if you're not going to try. Because who wants that on their team? Who wants a defender that's not going to try to block the shot? So, yeah. I know I went off on a little tangent, off a little rant there, but that was really frustrating. That their goal, that was frustrating to watch because the fact that you don't have the desire to do it really pisses me off. So let's talk about individual performances. Guzan I already talked about a little bit. Best player on the field, had to make a lot of really good saves, especially because his defense was not helping him at all. The one in particular I think was probably his best save of the night. Zusi lets the guy cut in on his favored right foot. Like, you could tell he wanted to go to his right foot and have a shot. He doesn't close him down. He doesn't try to get in front of the shot whenever the guy does get it on his right foot. And so the guy just puts a curler towards the back post. Guzan gets across his goal, fingertip save, touches it wide. Great save. And honestly, if there is one bright point for me, it's the fact that I got to see why I'm so excited for Guzan to return. To get back to Atlanta United and actually play in a game, because we need that. We really need a quality keeper like Guzan. So that's the only bright point I could take out of last night's game. Rest of the defense, Villafania at left back, just average. Still, like I said earlier, still think that we've got to have better options than him. But this is, I guess, a chance for him to show what he can do on the international stage, to see if going forward, if we really do need him there, or if we can start to find somebody else. But just going forward, he doesn't really bring a lot. Defensively, he does okay at times, but there are still moments where it feels like he's caught in two minds, and he still doesn't do well in one-on-one challenges. If somebody's taking him on one-on-one, it's not good. So I look at him and I think he's okay. He'll do for now, but we need to start looking and seeing, can we find somebody else who can play that position better, who can get up and down the line and actually put in good quality crosses, or who can move the ball around and defend as well. I don't know. He's average on both sides. I prefer to have somebody who's really good on one side or good on both sides. Bessler, probably the more average of the two defenders. Very quiet game for him. Didn't really see a whole lot. Didn't really make any big challenges, but didn't really make any huge mistakes either. Compared to Gonzalez, who did have a few good challenges, who did make a couple good interceptions, but then at the same time had a couple moments, like on the goal, that I'm just like, that's embarrassing. You shouldn't be getting beat like that. And then Zusi, obviously probably our worst player on the pitch. Just not good defensively. He slipped several times. He made several mistakes. There are a couple moments where he was one-on-one where I thought, this is dangerous, like this is deadly for us, and he got lucky and just happened to outmuscle the guy, or the guy was dumb and tried to go around him instead of trying to just poke the ball away. I don't know. But yeah, just all around very poor night from him, and kind of makes my case again why we should be looking for somebody else besides Zusi for that right back position. And then into the midfield, Costa, very average, some good passes here and there, a couple good movements on the ball, but then defensively he was hit and miss, and on top of that, even when he was making good runs on the ball, and even when his passes did work out, his work ethic after that, he makes a great pass, but he's not trying to get up in the attack, he's just kind of jogging. Defensively, they're on the counterattack, he's just kind of jogging back, he's not really working hard to get back, so he just seemed pretty lazy for the most part. Now, the play whenever he had the ball was pretty good. It was when he was not on the ball that it looked really bad. McCarthy, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. Off the ball, he was working hard. He's running, but God, on the ball, he sucked. Defensively, he was just getting bullied. He is smaller, but it just showed. It showed how weak he is, because how many times did somebody beat him in the air? And how many times did they not even have to jump and they beat him in the air? But yeah, he looked like he was just like, I'm going to get the ball, and just run around in circles, not doing anything at all. Like the Panama players just like flicking it back and forth around him, and he's just running, chasing, and it was kind of embarrassing. And then on the ball, it's like he doesn't see what to do. He doesn't see it. He can't envision what to do. He gets the ball, it's like there's somebody making a run. He's touch. Oh, there's my pass, and at that point, they're either off sides or they're covered, and it's a pass to the defender. So, I don't know. He's just really slow to make a decision. On the left side, Rowe, I talked about him a little bit already. pretty good game, hit and miss, did some pretty good stuff here and there. The setup for the goal, how he flicks it up over the defender, takes it down, puts a cross in. That was good, and there were several moments like that where he did something pretty good. But then there are also moments where he kind of didn't do something very good. Defensively, I think he was pretty sloppy. And of course, he was helping out Villafani on the left side. So between the two of them working together, you think, okay, Villafani is pretty good defensively. He works really hard. You think that they do okay, but he just really wasn't good defensively. He dives in so many times. He gets cut so easily. It was pretty hard to watch whenever he was defending back there. And then on the ball, while he did do a couple of good things here and there, he did make some good passes. He did make some good moves around the defenders. There were also several times where it felt like he kind of wasted an opportunity after he made some sort of great run. It felt like he just crossed it in when we have nobody in the box, or his cross was overhit and now nobody can get to it. So he was very hit and miss, but I think out of all the players on the field, I'd say he was probably our best player on the actual field. And then our second best player was Dwyer. I think he just, he's kind of a striker who he's scored twice now, and he's trying to force his way into the team. So he's almost trying a bit too hard whenever he's on the ball. But the thing is, what I want to see from him is I want to see him define what type of striker he is. And I talked about this with McCann on Atlanta United, how he's pretty average all around. He doesn't really have anything special about him, and he needs to work on that. He needs to get something about his game that's why we have him out there. Same thing with Dwyer. I don't really know what type of striker he is. He's not really finishing every shot he has. He's not bullying defenders off the ball. He's not beating defenders with speed. He's not beating defenders off the dribble. He's not really doing anything. So what type of striker is he? Don't know. He still hasn't shown that yet, and that's my biggest thing for him is he needs to define what type of striker he is, so that way we can start to say, okay, well, we're playing a team where we counterattack a lot. If Dwyer's more of a speedy striker, we put him up there. Like Bobby Wood. Altidore is more of the big striker, the one that can hold up the ball, and then Dempsey is more of the finisher that you want up there. He can finish most of his shots. So Dwyer isn't any of those. He's just kind of average on all accounts. So I would say that's the main thing for him, is just working to improve that side of his game. But the goal was pretty good, pretty well set up, and he did put the defenders under a good bit of pressure for the most part. But his runs, I think, were the thing that we didn't see much of. But I think that was more because the players behind him were not seeing the runs. He was making a few really good runs, and I'm like, play him, play him, play him. And then they take too many touches, and he's offsides now. So I do think a lot of his average play may have had to do with what was behind him. So I'm not going to fully blame him for that. On to the second worst player on the field, aside from U.S.A. Corona, just terrible. I mean, how can you take 5 touches and go 3 feet? He's so slow. He was so slow. Like, I was shocked. How many times can you get the ball picked off of you? How many times can the crowd yell at you to play the ball because somebody's making a great run and you're still taking touches? How many times can you dribble to absolutely nowhere and then play a simple pass? How can you not learn from your mistakes? He was so bad, and he was the first one off the field because of it. I mean, I was not shocked at all when he was the first one off. I'm like, thank you. Can we get U.S.A. off next? Because he was just terrible. So I do not expect to see him anytime soon. He was really bad, and unless he improves, he's not getting any time on the team anytime soon. So, yeah, just all around really bad from him. Bedoya handed the captain's armband for no reason whatsoever other than the fact that he's played a lot of games for the national team. But just not good. I've actually been asking for him over, a couple other players in recent games. In our qualifiers, I've been asking for Bedoya to be on the field, but he hasn't been. And I'm like, why not? Well, last night kind of showed why not. Because he's not playing well. I just defensively, not really getting back and helping that much defensively. On the ball, he tries too much to beat players with speed. And while he does have a bit of speed, you're going up against Panama, and for the most part, they have a ton of speed. So it's almost like you're just wasting your opportunity. You know, you're trying to go down the line one-on-one. There's a moment where he's made a great run, good touch down the line, now hit it across. No, I can still go. And so he takes another touch. He waits for the player to touch him, goes down in the box. It's just like, I wouldn't call it. I mean, I'm for the U.S. I would not call that because it's very clear you were looking for it. And now you've wasted your opportunity. Now you've wasted your chance that you created with a good touch behind the defender. You had a chance to cross it in. You had a chance to do something with it. Instead, you're like, no, I can take it. And then you fall over looking for a penalty. What a waste. So just all night long, it was stuff like that. It was stuff like making poor decisions on the ball. You know, bad passes, bad runs, bad dribbling. It just wasn't good from him. Not as bad as somebody like Corona, but still, for the quality that I've seen from him before, really bad. And then the subs that came on, Agudello? That guy, you know what I'm talking about, Juan, I think is his first name. I don't know. He came in for Corona and worked pretty hard, but just didn't look good. There was a moment where the cross came in right to his feet, and he just completely bumbled it. Like, bad touch, it bounces up, hits him in the stomach, and he's trying to settle it, and all of a sudden it bounces off the back of his heel and is away to a defender. I'm just like, oh, what was that? Get the Benny Hill music. Like, that was bad. You could probably play that to some Benny Hill music, and it would totally make sense. It was bad. And then I think Zardis was the next one to come in. He came on for, I think, Rowe. Rowe looked like he may have been hurting with something, so brought him off, put Zardis on. First time, I think, back on the national team from injury, and didn't really have a whole lot of time to do something or to really get involved in the game. But it looked like he was working fairly hard, so hopefully he gets to start next time since so many players underperformed last night. And I'd like to see what he's capable of now, because I know the injury was a pretty bad one. So, and then the last one was Jordan Morris comes on for Bedoya. Almost came on for Dwyer, but then Bedoya looked like he was hurting, so took him off instead. And just, what was it, like 5 minutes left in the game, so didn't really have any time to do anything. But I do think this is kind of his last tournament to do something about it, because he's been talked about for the past few years now, and he's just kind of been in and out of the team. He's been on the bench a couple times. He's been playing fairly well at his club team, so I don't know. Just everybody seems to talk about him. But if he gets his chance here, if he starts a couple games and he doesn't do anything with it, I do think this is probably his last chance in this tournament to really force his way into the national team. Because even though some of our strikers aren't really the clinical type right now, I still think I see more out of them than I do out of Morris. So, but all in all, like I said, it was just a really disappointing performance. I wore this to the game last night because I expect to see Miazga in the next game. I mean, I expect to see a change in the defense. I expect to see a huge change in defense. Gonzalez needs to be gone. Zusi needs to be gone. Bessler and Villafania, they did okay. They did average, so I'd say give them another chance, and if they're not cutting it, they need to be gone. Because, I mean, just all around, it was really poor to watch. And I realize that Panama is probably going to be our toughest challenge. I realize the next couple of games probably won't be nearly as hard. But we stayed for a little bit and watched Martinique versus Nicaragua. Watching them play, I'm just like, this isn't good, but they're working so hard that it almost looks better than our game. It looked more entertaining because they were putting in so much effort. They were just working hard, flying up and down the field. And I realized it was a bit hotter when we played, so, not able to do that as well. But still, the effort wasn't there. Even when it got cooler, even when the shades started to cover the field, the effort still wasn't there. It's really embarrassing. So, looking forward to the next game. Most likely going to see a lot of changes, and hopefully those players that come in do well, so we don't have to see another performance like we did tonight. But this kind of seemed like it was going to be the first team from this B team that we brought to the tournament. But I think if the players that come in next game, if the changes you make, if they work out, even if it is against the lesser side, I say stick with them. I don't want to see Zusi anymore this tournament. I don't want to see Gonzalez anymore this tournament. I don't want to see Corona anymore this tournament. So if there's a chance where you just take them out of the team and the team that you bring in does well, I'd say go with that. Stick with that. Keep letting them perform. Keep letting them show what they're capable of. But last night, we're not going to win the tournament with that. We're not going to win the tournament with that sort of effort. And even though this is kind of like we don't have to win it, this is just kind of giving these players a chance to show if they're available for World Cup next year. Even though that is kind of the thought process there, I still think we need to try to win it because we're pretty low in the FIFA rankings right now. This would help. This would help boost us up a little bit if we were able to go on and win this tournament, even with a lesser team. And I just think we need to instill a bit of fire into these players because they don't have that fire right now. They don't have that fight to say, we want to win this game. So that's about it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts about last night's game? Who was your man of the match? Who was your worst man of the match? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future USA Gold Cup reviews, and I'll see you at the next game.